Round 2 of our championship finds us trading the southern sunny shores of California with the raucous party vibe that is Austin, Texas. From one classic racing venue to another, we continue to crisscross the United States and firmly set our feet in cowboy country, at one of the newer but more beloved circuits that this country has to offer. A little over a month after SRO Motorsports Group America's home race here at the Circuit of the Americas, it's finally time to let our drivers loose for round 2 of the Mobileye GT World Challenge America Esports Sprint Series. Hello everyone and welcome to today's broadcast. My name is DJ Clark. Delighted as always to be joined at the commentary booth by Jesse Lee, with Mike Yao and Steve proudly working away behind the scenes. And Jesse, Laguna Seca was not by any means a dearth of action, but I've got a sneaking suspicion today that as we get racing here in Texas, we are going to see some fantastic battling up and down through this field.
Couldn't have said it better myself, DJ, and hello everybody watching at home as well. It's going to be fantastic here at Circuit of the Americas today. If Laguna Seca was a taster of what the season was going to be, I think they're going to rip the knob off a little bit today. It's going to be incredible. Every year, DJ, you and I have been in the position to watch the American Series grow and become richer with talent and closer in competition. Today, it's just going to turn that up a little bit more.
It certainly is here, and as we said at the Circuit of the Americas, added in the North American DLC pack here on Assetto Corsa Competizione. Very happy to have that. Let's go ahead and run you through the entry list here for today around this circuit. Obviously, the two classes of cars that you'll see there, the big names to keep an eye out for, obviously Moreira there, as well as Felipe Roberto, the Williams Esports drivers, having a very good round last time out, and plenty of makes and models of cars here, including the 992 GT3R, the new Ferrari 296. Jesse, going to make things very interesting out on this circuit today.
Yeah, it sure is. Of course, you have some Bentleys in the field as well. The SOP Esports racing car here, not just some of the more usual brands you would expect, and always a treat to have all of the brand recognition here today.
Yeah, very much a treat as well to be able to have them. We've also got those championship standings, one round in the books, so not completely indicative of everything, but Igor Rodriguez leading the way there for Williams Esports, and we've got to talk about that battle for P2 there. Hutchinson and Moreira so close on top of each other, battling throughout the entirety of the race last time out. A tough day there for Josh Staffen, though, one of the drivers that we always take a look at. We also have the standings here in the silver category as well. As we look down through them, that's going to be Marek Levesque leading the way there for silver. Barrera and Kostovic rounding out your podium positions from last round's race.
Sure is, and it just gets closer the further back you go on the field, doesn't it really? And it's all to play for here very early on in this season. Several of these drivers without points thus far, DJ, they'll be looking to get on the board, and they'll be good for it here if they can tame Circuit of the Americas.
Very much so. And, well, to talk about this circuit, as there is your order there as we work our way on through. The biggest thing that we've got to talk about here, though, on the day as drivers are lined up on the grid, ready to take their first pace lap. It's Rodriguez and Ian Nostra up at the top. Moreira, Sievert, and DeSantis. Your top 5. DeSantis, a very, very good time there. 5th place for the silver class drivers. We continue to walk our way down through this grid. You can get an idea of what it's like. But Jesse, the story's going to start right at the beginning. Coming up Big Red, turn 1 here for these drivers. Going to be very, very tempting for a lot of them to try to think about going 3, 4, maybe even 5 wide, try to gain a little bit of position right off at the start of the race. But I can tell you from experience, doing that may not pay out the dividends you think it will.
Well, it might not, but it's a risk you have to take. You're never going to be as close to the field as you will be on the opening lap of the race. So you've got to get up Big Red. Several stories in elevation. Also, too, the incline helps you brake a little bit more, makes you a little bit more brave. I would say 4 cars wide is going to be a given. 5 wide, maybe.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very tricky. By the way, Marek Levesque, your winner from the last round in that silver category, starting all the way back in 11th and 4th in class. So going to have some room to make up through there. Now, as we talk about this Circuit of the Americas, one of the things that makes this place so special, Jesse, is the fact that it sort of picks and chooses areas on the circuit, kind of steals some ideas from different famous racing circuits from around the world. The S's section that you see the drivers working through right now, very, very analogous to Maggots and Beckett's from Silverstone. As we run back into turn 12 and through 15, that was made to kind of copy Hockenheim, and then going down through 16, 17, and 18, very, very reminiscent of Turkey as well. So one of the things that makes this place so special is the fact that you're kind of able to jump around the world by just driving one circuit around this place.
It sure is, and there's 3 different sectors around this racetrack, and all 3 of them, to your point, are all very, very different. Sector 2 taken up largely by the humongous back straight that also has quite a bit of elevation change, highlighted by the camera here. It dips down at first, and then you start climbing a hill just a little bit. What car will have the horsepower tonight? What car will be able to draft the best? That's another place that you're going to be able to make up passes and potentially defend against passes made on you. And again, 3 different sectors, all very different, requiring different skills to get through them.
Very much so, and probably going to see here a little bit of horses for courses, as we like to say, balanced performance, equalizing these cars over the course of one lap, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it'll take away the inherent advantage of certain cars through certain sections of the track. For example, the BMW tends to be known as a little bit of a beast in a straight line. Maybe we'll see it make up some ground there on that back straightaway. The drivers work their way on down. Maybe some mid-engine cars like the Ferrari, like, for example, maybe the Audi. We could see them do pretty well down through this slow speed section of the circuit, the infield section, the stadium section, as we like to call it. So that's going to be a big storyline here today, and see how these cars are able to do. And then, of course, we've got to always talk about what seems to be the ever-dominant car, that Porsche, the new model for this year, the 992 GT3R, added into the sim here for this series. Very happy to have that in. Was that car going to do? Ian Oster going to be starting off in the best place Porsche in P2.
Well, P2 is going to be a fantastic place to start regardless. It's going to give you the best shot, the best look, and maybe the best run up Big Red and down through turns 2 and 3. And by the way, if you watched last season and you think you have the Porsche figured out, you can forget all of that. None of that applies here this year. The Porsche quick in a straight line. This could be an excellent fight for the front row.
Certainly could be, as the field works their way onto the start-finish straightaway right now. Igor Rodriguez leading the field towards that green flag. A later start here, farther on down the line, as we get ready to go. Lines of 2 bringing their way down the start-finish straight at the Circuit of the Americas, waiting to go to the line as we get ready to go racing for round 2, as there goes the green, and we are racing here in Texas. A little bit of movement around from behind, farther back in the field. It looks like trying to sweep around the outside. There is going to be Ian Oster, but that's not going to come to anything. Big contact there farther back in the field. We've got one of the Ferraris turned around here at this point, as there is some calamity in that first corner.
Couple of cars made contact nearly after the green flag was dropped. They all kept it going, but they tried to go 5 wide through Big Red, and that hasn't worked out. And I dare say I spotted 6 wide near the back of the field. Nothing changing up front. The couple of cars up in front, they are clearly and cleanly away, as they will be completely unawares of the calamity happening behind them.
Hearing some reports behind the scenes there. That was a big problem there for the number 88 machine. That was the Ferrari that you saw spun around there. That's Merrick Levesque, your winner from last time out in the silver category. Also, Dornell's looks like he was turned around, and there's big contact up in front. That's going to be, I believe, Ian Oster a little bumped around there. He's going to be able to get the car pointed the right way around, but that's going to lose him a position, and now here comes a charging Sievert trying to make a move.
Well, that was not exactly how you draw it up. Contact leading there, but here comes the BMW with Chris Sievert making his way down the inside. He has the proper position. If he can get it broke up here and onto the apex, he might just be able to cover him off, and that's exactly what's happened there. Put the BMW up into P2.
Nice running there for Sievert here at this point, as that will indeed put him into P2, but it looks like Morera trying to fight back a little bit, coming down through the sections, down into turn 15 right now. We also saw a little bit of side-by-side farther back down in the field. I think that was Sherratt and DeSantis getting into each other there a little bit. Negrini also involved in that as well. It does look like that silver class category has bunched up there with Sherratt, DeSantis, and Doran all running 6th, 7th, and 8th.
That's incredible stuff. You got the silver podium all next to each other, and sometimes it doesn't work out like that. Sometimes you have the pro cars intermingled between you and your own class. That's not the case here. They are free to battle each other, of course, regardless of what class they're in, but you're not often afforded this, an absolute prime opportunity to make a pass. By the way, Rodriguez in the 124, well, that Williams car is checking out already.
Doing a little bit of what we saw in that last round is that everybody continues to scrap around there behind. I think that was Negrini and Doran moving their way around. Here is Cameron Martineau. He's going to have popcorn position on that battle with Negrini and Doran. Now, that is not for class position. Negrini in the number 2 being a pro class car here at this point in that Azatec SimSports Visceral machine. Trying to push his way ahead here, maybe close in on the back of the Nostra. He's going to have to worry about Martineau in the SRT Esports blue car.
Well, I wonder if Martineau was close enough to see exactly what Chris Sievert was able to do to get P2. Looks like Jade Hutchinson and the Lamborghini Esports team, that 26 car, they've been off the racetrack as they've fallen from P11 all the way down to 27th, DJ.
And it looks like he has had contact with the number 95 machine. That's what puts him a little bit farther down in the order. That's Diego Paul Fimbres Casas in the Pillars Racing Sim Racing Alliance machine. So that's what happened there to them. The battle continues to be fierce here as they run up through the field. Here's Zach Doran trying to make a little bit of a move. Big move in front there. I think that was Sherratt sending that Ferrari absolutely down into the inside. As here's Golzar trying to take a little bit of a move as well. And that's going to be Patrick in the 59 right in front of him that's able to pull that out. A lot of dive bombs, a lot of very aggressive braking there going down into turn 12.
It's very close, and these drivers are not leaving anything to chance. They know this is the best opportunity that they're going to get all day to make passes, and the variedness of this 20-turn racetrack gives every manufacturer, every chassis, at least an attempt to make a move, make a pass, because somewhere, somehow, your car is better than somebody else's at some point in the racetrack. As long as you can keep contact with them, maybe you think you have a shot. That's exactly what you're seeing here.
Yeah, exactly, and it's all about just keeping up and close behind right now to try to make sure that's going to run. We jump back here, Skylar Loverlink trying to take a little bit of a pass here on the number 40 machine as they run. That's Leandro Whirl up ahead of him for Arnage competition. It looks like there the Loverlink may think about falling back into line, but the Ferrari going to continue to try to move on the Aston Martin going up into Big Red. Not going to play itself out there. As we've got a little bit more side-by-side coming down through turn 2 here. That is going to be Negrini in the Audi number 2 holding off an attack here from Cameron Martineau. Martineau's been able to march his way up through the field. Remember, not too long ago, we talked about how he was kind of battling around there with Zach Doran in that number 110 machine. But Martineau clearly putting some speed on here. That BMW looking pretty strong.
Yeah, STR Esports looking pretty good right about now, and that BMW is flying. And you could see he almost had Negrini, but had to back out a little bit. Maybe Negrini a little bit better through the S section of Sector 1 and was able to just about hold them off. Cody Sheridan, the 22, has had a wide corner. Was that the virtue of contact, or was that just a missed braking point?
I think I had an eye on that out of the corner of my eye, Jesse. I think he just missed his braking zone coming down into the corner. It looked like he was trying to take a little bit of a later apex, maybe try to get a better run here on DeSantis, but that didn't play out for him, and now he's going to find himself under attack from Negrini from behind as that pro class car tries to get in the midst here of that silver class battle up at the front of the field.
Well, certainly Martineau saw that now he's he's the caboose on this train right about now, and he's got a car that maybe has a little bit of shooken courage in front of them in the Genesis Esports 22. And now, of course, you have Negrini, who doesn't want to be set behind him because he becomes a victim. If he gets side by side, he's not going to have anywhere to go, and somehow Martineau's got to figure out a way to get back by both of them.
Yeah, now we've got a little bit of a story here. Dornelles, who remember, found himself in some contact going up Big Red on that first lap. Now trying to work his way up from 32nd position. He's got Kenneth Portis the second right in front of him in that number 84 Rotogrip Racing Acura as they try to work their way up through the field here. Both of them just trying to see what they're able to do at this point in time.
Kenneth Portis the second in the 84 Rotogrip car, up one spot on that, was able just to be able to make the pass on Borden, and now inside the top 30. That marches them a little bit closer to getting points. I believe top 15 gets you a championship point, at least one for 15th place, and that gets them one spot closer.
Yes, it does. One driver who's going the wrong way here early on, that's Zach Doran for Team Shumi Skins. Right now, Doran, remember, was up in P7 just a couple of laps ago, and it looks like that Porsche is starting to fall back down through the order. But let's not necessarily throw too much shade here on Zach, as Negrini and Martineau up ahead of him. Those are two pro-class drivers that are working their way through some silver class category cars. So if Zach's just able to keep up here, keep up some pressure from behind, it may be enough to try to push their way forward, and he may just be able to hold on to the coattails a little bit.
Certainly losing the top three. Remember, just a few laps ago, we reported that the top three in silver were all together. That's no longer the case. Zach Doran still holds on to P3, but is starting to lose their contact with that lead group. You've got to be as calm and collected as possible. If there's something mechanically incorrect with the car, if the setup's not as where you need it for this condition on the racetrack, you can't panic and start to overdrive the car. That's only going to exacerbate and make the problems worse. You got to settle in and turn those laps.
And it looks like here that we've got our first message from race control. That's going to be the incident between the 262 and the 41 machine, Fidel Morera and Angel Ianostra. That is under review by Racing Steward. So we will let you know what the result of that review is as we focus back here on Ayrton Stefano as he tries to work his way up through the field. That's Oliveira right in front of him in the number 72. Going to try to get a little bit of a run here on the Aston Martin. The Audi driver trying to see what they are able to do as we now check back in on another one of our Audis, this being Renan Negrini, up in 7th place at the moment. Again, this battle continuing to range on. Martineau trying to come on in, and it looks like there that we've got our first penalty being issued. I'm seeing a 10-second penalty there being issued to Morera.
Yeah, it certainly is. We'll wait for the graphic to tell us exactly what was the cause of that penalty. But going back to Negrini for a second, I love how calm the Acertec SimSport Visceral driver is. You saw him looking in the rearview mirror, seeing exactly what the BMW is doing, but there's that penalty.
And that is going to be given to Fidel Morera there, the Williams Esports driver. Not what he wants to have seen. Remember, 3rd place in the championship, stood on the podium last time out in Laguna Seca. So Morera going to have to really fight from the back foot here if he wants to be able to keep that Williams Esports machine in the conversation here at this point. We focus in on the number 177, the American driver here of Hayden Harter, in a little bit of a silver class battle. That's Stefano in front of him and Whirl right behind him as they feed their way onto the back straightaway. And there you can see Hayden just taking a little bit of an adjustment as they work their way onto the backstretch. That's the best opportunity to do it. If you need to kind of shift around in the seat a little bit, as you said, Jesse, this is a pretty long back straightaway, so you certainly have the ability to do it. As here, Whirl taking a little bit of a look there on the outside, going down into turn 12. It's not going to play itself out, but clearly making his presence known to Hayden Harter.
Yeah, but I like what Harter did there. He saw that run coming from Whirl, and what did he do? He went down to the inside of the racetrack. He didn't go all the way to the line. He didn't want to compromise his entry into the left-hander after the back straight as much as he could have done. He was just sending a message. I'm going to give you the outside. Don't try to shove it up the inside, and we'll continue to have this battle. It was an expert move, a veteran move by Harter there, able to hold on to that position and look exactly what happened. They got off that back straightaway. He was able to widen the gap.
Able to widen the gap and keep on going. And one driver who would hope to be able to widen a little bit of a gap here, that's the Brazilian driver, Fidel Morera for Williams Esports. We focus in on him right now. That's Angel Ianostra directly behind him. Remember, those two were the ones under investigation for that contact on lap 1. Morera found at fault, so he is going to have to take a 10-second penalty when they come down for their mandatory pit stop. That basically means that Fidel is going to have to hold in place for 10 seconds. A 15-second penalty here being issued to car number 8, as that is contact between the 8 and the 20 on the opening lap. That's Adrian Bourdon, it looks like, and that contact was with Luke Gobi. And so a 15-second penalty there for car number 8. That's a silver class driver. And Adrian finding himself a little bit farther down in the field here. That Bentley going to have to serve a long time.
Certainly is Angel Ianostra, by the way, on the back of Morera, and that's the complete opposite point of what Morera needs to see here. Needs at least a 10-second gap, lest they're going to drop down at least one spot in that pro class, DJ, and that's not what they're looking to have. Ianostra on their back.
on their back there. And by the way, just a quick correction there. That was not for Alu Gobi. That was actually for contact with the number 10, Bruno Yamamoto, there in the Mercedes-AMG GT3. So that is the contact there that was given out, and that was the reason for the penalty.
You got the 95 here trying to keep pace. Patrick in the back here looked to make a move. I don't know if maybe the 95 made a little bit early braking move to set themselves up better for the corner. Caught Patrick unawares, nearly contact. No contact, though, thankfully. And they both continue without further incident as that battle for major points in the silver class continues. Speaking of battles for points, Martineau has caught the back of Negrini again, and this battle has reignited.
Yeah, it certainly has here, as it just looks like the straight line speed of that number 38 STR Esports Blue Machine continues to prove out here at this point. And I've got to think Martineau wants to be a little bit more aggressive here, especially considering the fact that Zach Doran behind him continues to close on in. And look at that train starting to form a little bit behind Alvarado, Fabris Casas, Patrick, and Galzar. All of them really kind of involved in this battle here. I'm starting to get a feeling that that number 2 machine of Rena Negrini, maybe a little bit of a cork in the bottle here, Jesse.
Yeah, that's just what I was going to say. Negrini is the unfortunate cork in the bottle, and, well, the suds are getting all shaken up here. Everybody coming to a head, and somebody's going to have to make a move at some point. You would hope it's not an ill-advised move, but the longer you get held up, I can tell you as a driver, the more frustrated you become because you know you have outright pace, but you've still got to make that pass on that car, and you've got to make it cleanly. Negrini not making it easy, as is their right to not make it easy, obviously. Driving well within themselves, I would also add, but also, too, to the frustration of the train forming behind them. Oh, and it's a big slide from Gulzar, but they saved the HPDS Pro car.
Yeah, that got very, very sketchy there coming down through turn 11. You saw just how much counter steer had to be put into the car, and thankfully that Acura going to keep pointed the right way. We check back in on Cameron Martineau, going to take a little bit of a look down to the inside of Negrini. Not going to be enough here going down into turn 12. They're now going to lead their way around. You know, I like the patience here that's being exhibited by Cameron Martineau. We could have seen an absolute dive bomb down up to the inside there of turn 12, really chuck that BMW into the corner, but it just looks like Martineau is waiting for the opportune moment to strike.
That's such a good point, DJ, because every week I get asked the same question. What makes somebody an esports pro? Is it this or is it that? The real answer is what you're seeing here. This is why Negrini and Martineau are pros. They're respecting each other on a racetrack. They have two very different cars that are handling very differently at this point. But beyond that, they're on the racetrack. They're sharing the track. Nobody's making an overly aggressive or overly defensive move. This is a nice, polite, and also very fast battle. They're still running really quick laps on top of this, but this is what it is to be a pro, to race this closely for this long, 15 minutes of this, to not make contact and to continue fighting on. This is what makes you a pro.
Exactly, and with 15 minutes down, that does mean we are 10 minutes away from the opening of that mandatory pit stop window. Remember, mandatory pit stops here coming, as it looks like we've got a couple of more messages from race control incident between the 177 and the 98 deemed a racing incident. However, the contact between 26 and 95 is, Martineau got a little bit aggressive there coming down into the corner, as it looks like the number 95 will be issued a penalty here. That is Diego Palfimbras Casas for the Pillars Racing Sim Racing Alliance, Porsche 992.
Well.
Yeah, Jesse, we just heard in our ear that car also has 2 other incidents under investigation, that number 95, so not a good day for them. But I'll tell you who is having a good day. That's Cameron Martineau, who's trying to make the play here on Negrini. Tired of waiting around. The straight line speed of that BMW going to be picking up down the back straightaway.
I don't think he's got it. Martineau is down the outside. Negrini taking the defensive inside line. There's plenty of room given, but it's not going to be enough. Will he try the double crossover? No, he will not. He has to fall back in line. There is no way to make that move stick, and gets in line just in time for Doran to join the group. Doran doesn't benefit points-wise from making these passes on these 2 cars, but Doran's got to remain hungry too, because they've got to catch up to DeSantis and Sharon.
Yeah, they certainly do. And as we look at that gap here between Negrini and Sherritt, that just continues to grow here at this point. And that's going to be playing into the mind of Doran. probably wants to be able to get on by this battle or have them fall back down through the field so he can get his way up forward and try to be challenging here for P2 in that silver class category. Right now, Doran does sit on the final step of the podium, but we'll have to see how that goes. Good exit there for Cameron Martineau coming out of the final corner here. I don't know if that's going to be enough of a drag coming down the start-finish straightaway. Certainly Negrini thinks so. He's going to go defensive as Martineau is going to try to take a look around the outside of Big Red. Looks for a little bit of the crossover move, but it's not going to play out, and it looks like Negrini keeps it ahead for now.
Yeah, it's a very smart move. Negrini saw him coming, knew that he had to go one way or another. If he stayed to the outside, he was going to let the BMW Martineau up the inside. That's not what he wanted to happen. So he went over there in a defensive line, not so much to say, hey, don't go down the inside of me, but to give the BMW the outside just to protect himself a little bit. Martineau, by the way, is going to get more and more aggressive, has to, because Doran's behind him, and behind Doran, of course, is another pro car, and they're all going to be coming. Doran's going to be less patient because Patrick in P4 in the silver class is going to eventually catch this battle as well. It's all going to come to an head. I just hope it does so in a clean manner.
Yeah, I hope that as well, but we'll have to see it here. And I think if you're Cameron Martineau at this point, you may be thinking about, if I can't get this move done on the track, he may have to do it a little bit going down through the pit stop cycle, either trying to go for a massive undercut or a massive overcut, one way or the other. Negrini feeling a little bit of pressure, going to go defensive again down into turn 12. Martineau going to be fully alongside as they break down into the left-hander. But Negrini's going to feed out there and able to get a better rotation mid-corner with that mid-engine Audi. This is the part of the track where I would expect Negrini to shine a little bit more. The front engine layout of that BMW tends to be a little bit understeery. Oh, there's a big slide.
Oh, it's a big slide from Negrini. It's going to be contact. Here comes Doran through. Doran doesn't get through the BMW, but does take Negrini. Negrini still in recovery mode. They're going to give one position up to an Acura back there. Martineau gets through, maybe forced to move, didn't make contact, but living in the mirror, it pays off. Cameron Martineau is through.
Well, and Jesse, that's exactly what we were talking about earlier from Cameron Martineau. That patience there coming to the fore, coming to play out there for him, and a mistake made by Renan Negrini for Acetec SimSports Visceral. Just that little bit of a mistake going down into the left-hander. And whoa, now down to the inside. Patrick wants a little bit of a piece of it, and contact there.
Well, that is not exactly what Negrini wanted. That's not what Patrick wanted, but that's interesting for Doran because that alleviates the pressure just a little bit. Incident between cars 369 and 33 on lap 3. Warning for car 33 for aggressive driving.
And that is Daniel De Oliveira there for Williams Esports Academy. So just a warning being issued to that car, but certainly something that they will have to take a note of here. And it looks like that there may be a follow-up here for that, as there it is. Yep, 30-second penalty to car 33. So clearly did not like that, did the stewards. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, a big penalty for that car, and I'm being told that car has already retired from the race, DJ.
Yeah, so that is just going to be a little bit of insult to injury there for car 33 for Daniel De Oliveira in the Williams Esports Academy. Aston Martin Vantage AMR GT3. We check back a little farther in the field here. This is Ayrton Stefano in the midst of a big train right now. Is the Acura driver trying to work his way through the field. The number 72 directly in front of him. That's Vinny Oliveira trying to be able to see if he can get anything to play on that Aston Martin. But he's got to be careful there because Harder in that number 177 Porsche not too far behind as well. And this once again playing out from what we've seen from a lot of this pack here, Jesse, that it is really and truly just massive trains of cars. We're not seeing all that many drivers being able to break away from one another.
Well, you know what the cork in the bottle is here? It's Negrini again. Negrini's at the head of this field. There's not a second between any of these cars. Actually, yeah, no, it's still the case as some of the cars have come into the pit lane. It's a very tricky pit lane. It may not look it to the naked eye, but it's a hard left-hander. Some of the cars side by side as they enter pit lane.
Those drivers just trying to get as much of an advantage as they can. The 20-minute pit window now open As more reports there from race control, the 95 and the 59, that being issued there as a racing incident. That's back in the silver class category. That's Diego Palfumas Casas and I believe as Piri there, that's both being called for that. So that was a racing deal between the two. No further action being reported. We've got a couple of more incidents that race control is reviewing at the moment. We'll keep you updated on those. Here's Timothy Flaminger trying to work his way forward for Alpha Sim Sports, the number 19 silver class driver, back down in 18th position.
Here we go again. Cars 8 and 949 on lap 5. 5-second time penalty to the 949 for causing a collision. They're starting to mount a little bit, DJ. Several of the cars with the argy-bargy of the opening couple of laps and beyond, they're getting penalties for it here.
Yeah, they are indeed, and that's going to go to Joseph Kostovic there in one of the Ferrari 296s in the field for 949 Racing. So Kostovic going to have to serve a 5-second penalty, and that is the shortest penalty that they are able to give out here, so that's not going to be nearly as detrimental as some of those 10, 15, even 30-second penalties that we saw earlier on. But Chris Siebert here for ST Racing doing a good job of trying to just hold off here on the back of Morera. Now remember, Morera does have to serve that 10-second penalty, so that gap is going to be very, very large here at this point. And he's probably going to have a good bit of breathing room, is Chris, when this pit stop cycle is finished.
Speaking of the pit stop cycle, I'm quite curious how many more takers we have on this lap. We had a good, healthy group come into the pit lane the first time it was open for business, and I didn't see any of the top cars come in this time. And even still, back here in the 13, 14 positions, these cars staying out. One car does duck down the pit lane, but nearly everybody going further. What do you make of that, DJ?
Well, I think it's here a lot of what we tend to see in this GT-style racing across the entire SRO Motorsports Group arena, whether it is Europe, Esports, America, what have you, is the drivers tend to like to run these tanks as dry as possible. They like to extend as long as they can into a pit stop window, especially if you are in a good rhythm here. You want to just try to build that out as much as possible. Now, it's not like some of the other series that we see where you've got to do a mandatory driver swap and be worrying about a bronze-rated driver coming on into the car. But we will have to see here. I think the overcut strategy is the way to go. I think some of the drivers that came down into pit lane early, they were the ones that were bottled up in some of those longer trains. Here's Patrick trying to take a little bit of a look on the back of Negrini. Going to try to take it down into turn 11. Now, I don't think that was necessarily a full-on move for the Sim Racing Alliance driver in the number 59 there, Jesse, but I think he was trying to force Negrini offline, maybe compromise him going down that back straightaway.
No, you're absolutely spot on. Patrick was just giving him a look saying, hey, I'm going to take the inside if you're going to give it to me. You saw no response from Negrini. Negrini knew that Patrick was too far back to make that move stick and would have, not liked him to come down the inside. He didn't. It was a fake move, and they end up line astern as they enter and exit the corner.
And two more messages from race control. Incident between the 95 and the 59 deemed a racing incident, as was the incident between the 711 and the 26. So racing incidents there. We only have one more incident currently under review, and that is for an incident between the number 2 machine of Renan Negrini and the number 59 machine, that being of Patrick. So the battle we were just watching there is a investigation going on for that right now. We'll let you know how that goes. There is the battle on your screen right there. Looks like neither driver going to come down into pit lane, as it looks like Patrick just continuing to hound the back of Negrini here, maybe hoping to force an error like we saw Negrini make earlier.
Yeah, Patrick is driving a little bit more aggressively than Martineau was. Martineau was a little bit more laid back with it. Patrick showing you what move he's going to take. He's thinking about going up the inside. He's blocked off by Negrini up Big Red. Falls back in line. A little extra dab of the brake from Patrick in the Sim Racing Alliance 59, and they end up the way they came. But for a second there, looked like they were going to go up the inside. And oh, by the way, Gulzar, the number 14 Acura, right there in the mix too.
And it looks like that incident we just spoke about, that has been deemed a racing incident here for these drivers, a racing incident for these drivers. So no further action is taken. We're about halfway through the race here. I want to give a big shout out to Mobileye, presenting sponsor of the SRO America's Esports Championship, Esports Sprint Series rather. So very, very happy to have them on board. Massive thanks to Mobileye for coming on board. Gabriel Philippe right now in the number 63 machine in a little bit of a battle with a familiar name, Josh Staffen, as it looks like that Bentley going to try to make the move going down here into turn 11. Going to have to back up the corner a little bit, almost giving a little bit of a bump draft. Big clobber of the curbs there down to the inside of 11. I don't think that's going to help that Bentley down on the straight line speed.
Oh, Philippe's going to be frustrated. Thought he had the inside for the crossover move. Staffen knew exactly what the 63 was going to do. He dabs the brakes extra as you start to leave the corner before the Acura did. Staffen, being the wily veteran he is, just decides to apex a little bit more to make sure that the crossover move can't happen.
Yeah, very, very heads-up play there, just kind of dabbing on the brakes at the apex curb to back up that Bentley a little bit and make sure that there was not an opportunity to get that crossover. As now we jump back here to the battle for P10 overall. Negrini, Patrick, and Gulzar continuing to fight their way around. And that is Patrick absolutely reading my mind here, Jesse. I was about to say,
same.
If I was Patrick, I'd think about coming down into pit lane and trying to jump Negrini in the pit stop cycle.
Yeah, well, without a doubt. I was going to say the exact same thing, partner. We think absolutely alike. Now is the perfect time. If you're getting held up by a car like Patrick was, Patrick knows that they had a little bit more pace than Negrini in front. So you have two options when the pit cycle is open. You can try to make the pass and lose time, or you can come in and hopefully come out in clear air. Some of these teams will have help that will be trying to spot a little pocket of clean air, and if that opens up for them, that is the optimum time to come in, regardless of what your original strategy might have been. But beyond the point, being stuck behind somebody, you are hemorrhaging lap times, partner, and that was an excellent move in my opinion.
Yeah, very, very heads up. As we jump back here on a pro driver we haven't given a whole lot of love to today, that's Josh McKean for HPD Yas Pro in the number 77 Acura here at this point, trying to close in behind Stefano in front of him. Now, that's a silver class driver. And again, all of these drivers jumbled around here in the starting order. We do not break them out by category, so they are indeed racing for an overall position here at this point. And I can tell you, as I look down through the field here, it looks like Patrick, who we just talked about, that number 59 machine coming in and out of pit lane, that's going to be your highest placed pitter here at this point. It comes back out in about 21st position.
Yep, keep an eye on the cars that have pitted. The 59, like you just said, the leader of the cars that have pitted, very few of the top 20 cars have come in to this point. There have been a few, mind you, and we'll continue to see. I suspect, DJ, and I'm curious if you think along with me here as well, I think the majority, at least the top 15 or so, are going to wait as long as humanly possible.
Yeah, I think if you are, well, I just saw Angel Iannostra is going to come down into pit lane there, so one little bit of a change of that. But Jesse, I was going to tell you that unless you are, well, here we've got DeSantis and Sherritt all coming down into pit lane here at this point. Doran as well, and that's not altogether surprising. We are about 30 seconds away from the halfway point in this race, Jesse, and so I think that's a very popular strategy call. You either run the tank dry or you just come in and split this race right down the middle.
I'm going to tell you straight up, I got this wrong. I thought they were going to go as long as possible because a lot of those cars were either involved in a battle they probably figured they could win, or they were sort of on their own just a little bit, have a second air gap between them, and maybe you're just riding that out. But I wonder if the strategy preset was to make it to halfway, put just enough fuel in the car to get you to that point, or maybe make it to the halfway point, put as little fuel as possible as it takes to get to the end and get back out there. That might have been a strategy they had to do based on their fuel that they onboarded before the race. We don't know that, but it also could have just been the perfect time to come in. Split the race in half, makes sense.
Yeah, very much so. And remember, all of these drivers have teams and literal teams that are working behind the scenes there on strategy, on setup, on all of those things to make sure that they are as successful as possible. As we see Iannostra coming back out of pit lane, looks like DeSantis is going to be a little bit ways back there. That Ferrari that you see kind of lurking in the background, or is that a McLaren? Excuse me, the McLaren that you see lurking there in the background. That is Cloutier. That is going to be for P12, but Cloutier has not made the pit stop, so that's really not a battle for position there at that point.
No, not really. Iannostra by themselves, that's exactly what I was talking about earlier. When you do that pit stop, you want to put yourself in a position where you're not having to battle somebody, where you're not having to pass cars. Even if they're on a different lap, it all loses time doing it, and you want to have that clean air to run your race pace in your laps. All that's going to do in the end is benefit you. The majority of the field at this point has come in to serve their mandatory pit stop, and even more of them coming in this time. I spot some of the top 3.
Yep, they're all coming in here at this point. Plenty of drivers working their way on in. As we follow Riera right now, they have made their pit stop here at this point. Looks like a couple are staying out that I can see on the screen here. Dornelles, Portis, and Cloutier all staying out, as we mentioned earlier. But this is an absolute gaggle of cars here behind at this point. Very, very tough running, as it looks like they're coming down into the corner. That's going to be him and Vinny Oliveira duking it out a little bit, coming down into turn 12.
Ray right here just trying to hang on, takes the inside. That's the best place to possibly do it. Oliveira in the 72, though, desperately trying to make a move, and this is why, because if they don't make a move, that's the 28 Porsche right behind them. They're going to try and sneak around the outside. They go back single file for the time being, but the Aston there has been held up enough that they are the one that is under threat all of a sudden of losing a position.
Well, and that's what's going to happen in these battles, is here we see more drivers coming down and out of pit lane. Chris Sievert here, one of them. And he has really closed in here on this pit stop as he brings his way back out and around. This could turn into a little bit of a battle here between himself and Igor Rodriguez, who's also come into pit lane.
Well, the Williams Esports driver was on cruise control for the second week in a row, but no longer a quick pit stop for the ST Racing BMW. Chris Sievert back into the action. It was only a few seconds between them prior to the stop, but it's definitely less than that now, as this is reignited a little bit of a battle. He gained, I would say, about half a second in the pit lane or more.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if that's a result of maybe just getting the fuel strategy a little bit better there. Sievert coming in and out and being able to put less fuel in the car, or it very well could have been a hustle on the in-lap. Coming into the pits, getting down onto the binders at a more opportune time to try to close that gap. But now the pressure is going to be onto that Williams Esports driver, Igor Rodriguez, trying to pull away here a little bit to see if he can rebuild that gap back out.
Yeah, I think you're right. See, if you miss your stopping point and the mechanics have to push the car into position before it's raised up on the jack stands, that's more time than was lost in pit lane. So it wasn't like that. It wasn't a pit mistake. It could just be that Sievert had a better in-lap, a better entry to pit lane that was more on it for the 50-kilometer limit, or it could have been just better getting out of pit lane as well. Maybe they're able to get up to that limit a little bit quicker. Something has allowed them to get within a second. Now they're trying to hang on.
Yeah, trying to hang on. Another driver who's trying to hang on here at this point. That's Patrick on the back of the 420 machine of Alvarado. Another interclass battle here as they run. Porsche versus Acura as they dive down into turn 15. Now, we haven't really talked a whole lot here about this turn 16, 17, and 18 complex, Jesse, but one of my favorite corners, not only here at Circuit of the Americas, but indeed the entire world, a triple, almost quadruple apex right-hander that you've got to just feather the throttle absolutely perfectly through, and it is made all the more difficult by the fact that when you're running like Patrick is here in dirty air, you're not going to get the full benefit of the aerodynamics pushing the car into the track, and it completely changes your driving style.
It sure is. I can tell you from a driver's standpoint, it's horrible. When you get it wrong, you get it wrong. You get one opportunity as you turn in for that triple or quadruple apex, as you call it. And if you miss it, you've missed the entire corner. You're losing time. And I'm talking about a lot of time that you don't hit the apex because you go so wide, and it just seems to go on forever. So you're just losing a ton of time. I will say this, though. When you nail that corner, it is one of the most satisfying things you can do in motorsports.
Yeah, it really, really is. It's absolutely fantastic to be able to keep in and be able to get that corner right. It's a really, really wonderful feeling. I have to agree with you there on that. 2 more incidents under investigation by the stewards. We'll update you as they come across here at this point, but it does look like that some of the argy-bargy that we saw earlier on in this race has died away here a little bit. But I'll tell you what hasn't died away. That is the battle up for the lead, as Chris Sievert putting a lot of pressure here to the back of Igor Rodriguez, and it looks like we've got a full-fledged battle here for the top step.
Yeah, I was wondering, they came out of pit road, DJ, and they were less than a second apart, and then Rodriguez was able to grow the gap back over a second, but somehow Chris Sievert has erased that again to a little bit under a second, and it looks like maybe the ST Racing BMW has a little bit more grips than the Williams Esport Audi at this particular stage in the race. Rodriguez again looked to be cruising a little bit, had it all under control, but now finds himself with a battle in the final 23 and a half minutes of this race.
And they're going to try to see what they are able to do here. Sievert doesn't necessarily looks like he is pushing that hard here at this point, as we do have confirmation that the incident between the 26 and the 4, now that's Lucas Verl there, and the 26 machine of Jaid Hutchison, as it looks like the number 4 of Verl going to be given a time penalty there for that. Verl running in 35th place here at the moment. And because he has made his pit stop, although it looks like he's actually coming down into the pits right now to serve that penalty. Normally it would be a situation where that would just be tacked on at the end of the race, but it looks like Lucas is going to come on in and serve that in pit lane.
Yeah, quite odd indeed. Battles here. Rivera trying to move up a spot down the inside in the Acura, and I think they've just about got it covered off, but here comes another one of those Acuras and a train of other cars rather besides. Stefano and Dornelis all involved in the fight, and Philippe to boot also in this battle. As again, you get into this part of the race, you're in the final third, or you're about to enter the final third of the race, and then all of a sudden you have these little clumps, these little groups who are all fighting amongst themselves, and you want to be the leader of those groups, obviously.
And just a point of reference here, it's not been a good opening 2 rounds there for Lucas Verl. If we remember, he got a 25-second penalty back at Laguna Seca. It's 35 seconds worth of penalties there in the course of 2 races. That is not the way you want to start this season off whatsoever if you are the driver of that Arnage competition number 4 machine. But we check back in on the battle for the lead of the race. It looks like here that Igor Rodriguez has been able to expand the gap a little bit. Let's call that about 6-7 car lengths as they work their way down into turn 19. The Audi starting to stretch its legs a little bit over Sievert. And I wonder here if we maybe could get into a little bit of tire management as they go.
Yeah, there's been an interesting shift in BOP, and I can tell you the Audi, it is a bit moody. If you miss the temperatures a little bit, then you're off by a lot. And I wonder if that's changed a little bit as well, maybe taking a little bit longer to get up to temperature as well, DJ, because sometimes these cars just ebbs and flows. And again, with the weather, if it changes a little bit, if the tires start to grain just a little bit, which I don't think is the problem on Idistroz's car, or excuse me, Rodriguez's car, it could very much impact that car. Or, of course, just coming into the pit lane could cool off the tires, could take a few laps to get them back up to temp.
Yeah, certainly could do, as we've got a nice little battle here back for 33rd position. This is Bruno Yamamoto trying to work his way around and hold off an attack here, or trying to attack, rather, on the back of the McLaren there of Cloutier. Up in front of him, that number 36 McLaren, as this gap is very, very close. Bruno Yamamoto, remember, involved in some incidents a little bit earlier on in the race, and now trying to just claw his way back up forward and see if he is able to make anything here for that that Mercedes and see if he's able to get a good run.
Well, he's not too far off from the top 15 right now in his class. Keep in mind, top 15 get championship points. So any position they make up here, and who knows what's going to happen with the penalties throughout the race. So all that considered, you've got to fight. You cannot give up. That's what makes these drivers the best of the best in the American regions, because they never give up, and you never know what's going to happen. You can't worry about what's going to happen to somebody in front of you. All you can do is take care of you. We're still getting race control notifications. This one, no further action between car 711 and 98 on lap 15. Look at this move.
Big crossover there, trying to be able to get the apex. There is that BMW. Oh, contact there, and that's Vinny Oliveira coming to the back of him.
Oliveira got into the back of him. I don't know what he could have done differently. The 43 of Riera just got over the huge curb. You can barely see it, but there is a sausage curb on the inside. You do that, it is going to bump you into the air, and that's exactly what happened. And that was a huge shunt, but I don't think there's anything Oliveira could have done about that.
No, I don't think there was either. And the curbing down to the inside here, interesting of note that on the inside and outside of the curbs, the majority of the curbing here, those sausage curbs to the inside, are actually movable. And depending on the series that will come to race here at Circuit of the Americas, the track staff will actually change it based off of what the series wants to have out on the circuit. And so sometimes you may be used to driving it around here in a very certain way, and those bigger sausage curbs could be put there going through the corners and throw you off a little bit there. As we've got another battle here, though, this is Timothy Flaminger trying to hold off Negrini. Remember, Negrini trying to work his way back up through the field here at this point. A very, very rough run here for that number 2. We saw him much farther up in the field earlier on in this race.
Yeah, unfortunately for Negrini, they're not having a race to remember. They're going to watch the film back on this and try to figure out how it all came undone. It's possible they already know something in the setup, maybe, something not to the liking, surely, because they have had a really good qualifying, but ever since then, they have fallen through this field. Of course, they had the contact as well. They have spun as well, and that led them into this position, but not really able to make up a lot of those spots, but still some daylight at the end of the tunnel. They've got some pro cars in front of Flaminger at least, maybe able to claw back some spots here late, get some decent points.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing here at this point is we do also, you can see there, the number 77 machine in McKean has been given a drive-through penalty. Now, that was told to us a little bit earlier by our amazing team behind the scenes. That is for track limits violations. And so that is more than likely, whoa, big bomb coming up the inside there for Negrini. Going to try to make that play, gets his elbows out there, and I think Negrini may finally have that position.
Well, I think Timothy Flaminger cut him a break right there in the final 17 and a half minutes of this race. If Flaminger wanted to, if he didn't appreciate that contact, he could have stuck it down the inside. He probably wouldn't have been able to make the pass back on Negrini, but by the by, cut him a break there after the contact. Negrini goes through. Nothing of value lost for either car, really. 2 different classes, 2 different championship points right now, but still really close. It shows you how desperate Negrini is, though.
Yeah, very much shows you how desperate he is. Skylar Lovelink here a little bit farther back down in the field, trying to make a little bit of room on Lucas Verl there up in front. Looks like Verl has been able to serve his penalties here at this point, so I think he's okay here as he runs. Also, just want to make note up at the front of the field, that battle remains very, very tight. Rodriguez maybe starting to pull away here a little bit. Just set the fastest lap of the race last time out with a 2:04.107. That might sound really impressive, but that's only 0.04 of a second faster than Sievert here at this point. So that battle clearly still raging on.
Yeah, that's going to be settled by a mistake, if anything, DJ. They're either going to run the way that they are to the checkered flag here tonight, or somebody's going to make a mistake, and it's going to determine it. Nobody is going to make a mistake with each other, I don't think. It's going to be an individual effort here, trying to outfox each other. Speaking of, several battles still going on. This is the battle for P9, looking off the back wing of Alvarado's car back at Patrick, not for in-class position, but a position inside the top 9. Cars 43 and 72, racing incident, race control says. And DJ, do my eyes deceive me, or has race control been a little bit more busy than they were at the last round of this championship?
Well, I can tell you that about 30 minutes ago we were told, and that was only about 3 or 4 laps into the race, that Laguna Seca had a grand total of 17 investigations. COTA at that point had 11. I think we have surely surpassed it here at this point. So definitely race control getting their money's worth out of here today. Excuse me, it is only their 15th investigation, so Laguna Seca was scruffier, but we still have 15 minutes left to go in this race, so let's hope we can keep those incidents down and let Laguna Seca stand at 17.
Yeah, 17 isn't too terrible. I would probably say the majority of those, knowing our lovely race control and stewarding here, most of those were probably racing incidents, as have they been today. They've let a lot of stuff. They've let a lot of stuff go, and I love that about our stewarding crew, because if nobody gains or loses anything, you don't benefit by giving somebody a penalty, and usually they're very mindful of that, and that's usually when you see something be no further action or something of that nature, no penalty given. That's exactly what you can assume happened. There was a little bit of give and take, a little bit of touch, maybe, but beyond that, nothing of value gained or lost. This is the battle for P1. Igor Rodriguez leads it for the Williams Esports, that 124 Audi, and this is the ST Racing BMW of Chris Sievert. This is the battle for the win and the lead. This is as good as it gets.
Yeah, it certainly is here at this point, and there you see Rodriguez just parking that car on the apex here as they came down into the corner. Now, this is important here, I think, specifically for Rodriguez. Now, he is more than likely, knock on wood if you are a fan here of Williams Esports or Igor Rodriguez, probably going to walk away from this if he finishes first or second, still in the lead of the championship, as Jahid Hutchison, his closest rival in the championship after round one, is going to be farther back down in the order. But for Sievert here at this point, he finds himself in 8th place coming into this round, so this could be a good fight back here. But for Rodriguez, he's going to keep that in mind here, and I've got to imagine that if Sievert sends a big old move in about the last 13 minutes or so, Rodriguez may not fight it too hard because he's going to be thinking about the long-term implications and the long-term run here of this championship.
Racing's all about perspective. Luckily, these teams, they have people that help them keep the perspective in the driver's seat. I always said from the seat itself, you have the blinders on as if you were a racehorse. You can only see what's in front of you and what's behind you, and that's all you care about. But you typically have a support team that helps you see the bigger picture. You got to look at Jahid Hutchison. It was a great round for the Mobileye Lamborghini Esports driver, round number one. It hasn't been quite so today. And if you are Igor Rodriguez, you have to keep that in perspective. Exactly like you said, second place, is it a double win? No, but it doesn't matter. Your worst finish is P2 in 2 rounds. You have the best shot to win the championship. Sievert has a longer road of recovery to be your rival in this championship. You've got to keep that all in perspective.
Yeah, exactly there, Jesse. It's all about perspective at this point if you are Igor Rodriguez. I will say the only flip to that being is you tell a racing driver not to go for a win. Well,
yes.
There's a million analogies that we could tell there about that, but racing drivers are always going to win the race, so we certainly think that there could be a good battle here playing out in this last run, but I guarantee you right now that Sievert really trying to push as much as possible here, put pressure to the back of Igor Rodriguez, but Rodriguez just soaking it up here. We haven't seen him run that many contrary lines. We haven't seen him try to go super defensive. He's planted his car at the apex at a few points that he knows are the most obvious overtaking opportunities, but he's not varying the way he drives here at this point.
I can tell you there was no panic in either driver. Sievert had to put in a little bit of extra correction during that triple, maybe quadruple apex, but beyond that, no panic from either driver. Igor Rodriguez, you could barely tell that he was being hounded for the race win. Racing incident between cars 19 and 2. And I just heard that we have something that will not show up from race control, but somebody else has got to drive through.
Yeah, that's going to be Bruno Yamamoto there, who has been given a drive-through because of track limits violations. And by the way, the 2 and the 19, that is Negrini and Timothy Flamger. So actually that contact that we saw between the two of them, that big send down to the inside there for Negrini and the spin coming off of turn 12, that incident deemed neither driver at fault for that, just a racing deal here at that point. But once again, Bruno Yamamoto not having the best run out here today. You got to feel a little bit bad for that number 10 Brooklyn Esports racing team machine here at this point, the Mercedes-AMG, just having to come back down through the pits here at this point.
Look at these camera angles,
Yep.
DJ, looking at the left-hand wing mirror on the leading Audi back at Sievert. You can see the BMW lurking large in the mirror. Objects in the mirror may be closer than they appear, but I guarantee you it's not much closer. They couldn't be much closer.
No, they certainly couldn't be. Probably only about a car length separating the two as they work their way down the backstretch, ticking closer to 10 minutes left to go in this race. Let's call it 2 car lengths as they dive down into the corner. There's a little bit of that defensive line from Rodriguez, and that is the most, I would say, aggressive defending that I've seen out of Igor up to this point. I think he's starting to feel the pressure here a little bit.
He certainly is. He saw him get close there through the S's. That time was a little bit closer than he had been. Sievert, that is. Rodriguez knew that they had to do something. Otherwise, Sievert could have just as easily broke a little bit later and ran him wide on the racetrack. That is a legitimate strategy, of course. Not running them off the racetrack, just a little bit wide. But I will say that was expertly handled by Rodriguez. No panic whatsoever. Just gave a little bit extra left down the straight into the braking zone, letting Sievert say, hey, you're going to have to go around the outside here.
Yes, indeed, as we are getting reports here that the 16th and 17th investigations are being opened up by the stewards here at this point, and so we'll keep you up to date on exactly what those will be in short order when they come on through. So we are tied here for the same number of investigations that we were back in race number 1 of the season. As we check in here on Nicholas Alvarado, trying to hold off Patrick here. This is not a battle for position in class at the moment, but I guarantee you that Nicholas would love to be able to hold on to this 9th place position, if at all possible.
Yeah, they've kept it incredibly civil. If you ask me, Alvarado's not done anything too defensive, hasn't really had to. Patrick hasn't been particularly close, but Patrick also hasn't really made any huge dives as of late either. They've made that pretty civil amongst themselves. And of course, I speak sort of on behalf of broadcasters here, but I love it when I see two different classes respecting each other that extra little bit. And of course, they're all racing for overall position, though that doesn't technically pay for anything overall position. But to see that extra little bit of respect, knowing that this isn't a fight that benefits me in any way, so I need to take extra care, you love to see that. I think that's happening for P9.
Yeah, I think it is as well. We're going to give a little bit of love here to a driver we haven't talked about a whole lot, the Alpha Sim Sports 999 machine, Jonathan Clifford, behind the wheel of that Lamborghini here at this point. One of our few Lamborghinis in the field here. Caught in a little bit of a sandwich right now. That's Landry right up in front of him in the 711 Audi, and then the 787 of Rivera in that Acura close behind. So this is a little bit of a percolating battle here at this point. Not look like it's necessarily erupting into fireworks at the moment, but I've got to think here with only 7.5 minutes left to go in this race, Clifford's going to try to make a little bit of a push here, as this will be up in paying positions, up in points positions for that silver class category, and a top 20 overall is certainly going to look good on the resume there of Jonathan Clifford.
It sure will. Of course, Clifford didn't get points at Laguna Seca, so if they're able to convert this will be their first points of the championship season. It's always good to get that chip off your shoulder, that monkey off your back, and get into the meat of the season with championship points, something to show for it. We opened the show today. I talked a little bit about if you had a bad run or if you had a good run, you got to keep your momentum up, or you got to pick it up here. You got to do something, get yourself into the fight. Jonathan Clifford for Alpha Sim Sport, able to do that here today, looking for more.
Yeah, looking for more and going to keep on pushing here as they go down through that 16, 17, 18 complex. Going to bring the car around. You can see the kind of multitude of lines that are being taken through that corner as drivers just try to navigate their way around it, get a little bit of clean air. We're going to jump a little farther in the field here. This is Skylar Lovelink in the silver class sandwich. Lucas Burrow up ahead of him, and Firmus Casas right behind. Lovelink there in that 296 Ferrari, but we've got to go back farther up in the field. Morera trying to push his way on your silver class leader right now, DeSantis, and despite the fact that it is an interclass battle, that is going to be for Morera out and on by for Williams Esports up into P4.
I think once DeSantis saw that Morera wasn't going to back up their corner and was absolutely coming with a head of steam, I feel like DeSantis just went extra wide there just to make that as easy as possible. Lost a little bit of time for DeSantis. Not currently under fire, has a little bit of a gap, a nice gap even. Nothing but things to lose for DeSantis right now, in line for the silver win. I like that move. And Morera, of course, a little bit closer should anything happen to the group in front.
Yeah, I'm going to hope that there's going to be a little bit of a battle, but that's a pretty big gap here at this point, looking about 6-7 seconds. And I'll tell you what, the battle between Rodriguez and Sievert here at this point, not looking like it's going anywhere, but it does look like Rodriguez has been able to pull a little bit of a gap through that stadium section. Let's call that about 3-4 car lengths as they come down through turn 9 right now. Now, they're going to come over the line here with about 5 minutes left to go in the race. And Jesse, we're going to give the usual caveat of never trust a commentator's math, but I think that's 3 laps to go.
Yeah, I think it might be right on this case. It was pretty close, and these drivers, they've been ebbing and flowing together. They've been 1.5 seconds to maybe 2 seconds at the most apart from each other. The gap came down before the pit stop. It got closer after the pit stop, and now they've never been more than just about a second apart, sometimes closer than others. This time a little bit further away than they had been in previous laps, but still very much close enough should anything happen to settle the score. Rodriguez has to hold a pretty wheel. They have to be unflappable here in the final 3 laps of this race. Otherwise, Sievert is going to capitalize on it, and you don't want that. You do not want to lead the entire race and lose it inside the final few laps. There's nothing more heartbreaking.
No, there certainly isn't. As we check back on the battle for P10 here at the moment, Patrick leading over Gulzar, leading over Harder, and right now it's a Gulzar in the midst of a sandwich here. As it looks like we have been given incident by race control. That's between the car 2 and 28. That's Negrini and Kerstetter. That is a racing incident as it has been deemed here at this point. So that clears the board here of all investigations by race control with about 3 minutes and 45 seconds left to go. Sievert looking very, very close here, coming down the back straightaway, but again, just get up and go there from that Audi. Looks like that is going to be Rodriguez able to keep away here for the moment.
If Sievert's going to make this move, I suspect it will be on the last lap. It feels like he makes an attempt, or a half-hearted attempt, does Chris Sievert, and it takes him a few laps to get back up to speed, back up to position. Maybe he's overheating the tires just a little bit, or overdriving the car perhaps, but he gets back to him, and he's going to have probably 1 or 2 more shots. But I'm telling you, if he tries to make this pass, he better try to do it on the last lap, and he better make it definitive. Takes a look up to turn 20, nothing doing, falls back in line, doesn't want to have to shortcut the corner and lose time, so wisely pulls back in line, and they are still single file. But a half-hearted look there. Don't know if that was ever intended to be a move, or he's just trying to live in Rodriguez's mirrors.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Now, you do see that car up the road there a little bit from them. I believe that is Bordeaux, that they may catch up before everything is said and done. Now, 2 laps to go here for both of these drivers as they navigate their way through the S's. As we talked about earlier, kind of reminiscent of Baggett's and Beckett's there at Silverstone, which we will head next to on July 22nd. But it's going to be determined whether or not Bordeaux is going to get in the way of this battle. Not seeing a move there coming up through 8 and 9. I can tell you that I saw more than a few dive bombs there when I was here at Circuit of the Americas about a month ago, but it doesn't look like Sievert wants to go for it here at this point. Going to probably try to line himself up here as best as possible, coming down the back straightaway. Little bit of a check up there into the corner for Igor Rodriguez. Once again, just trying to back up Sievert and prevent him from getting the best run out of that corner.
If he can gain a little bit of time here, Sievert that is, he might have a look here. He might be forced to go down the inside. No stress from Rodriguez. He makes a fake look, and so does Sievert. Sievert ducks out and ducks back in again, and they're as close as they were in the previous lap or so, but no move still. Looking up the inside. Is this the move here? No, it isn't. Sievert cut off by Rodriguez, still in the lead here, but then again, no car lengths, maybe half a car length in between these two. It's a wide turn from Rodriguez, and contact. They make contact. They both slide sideways. Rodriguez gathers it back up. Sievert gets onto the brakes, allows him to go back through, and that was as close as it gets, folks.
And I want to give credit there to Chris Sievert. That looked like a situation where he made contact with Rodriguez and jumped on the brakes to allow Igor to go back on by. I think that was a little bit of a sign of an admission of guilt there from Sievert, that he said that was my bad and didn't want to gain that position by ill-gotten gains. So very, very heads up there from him. But the white flag is in the air. 1 lap to go from Circuit of the Americas. It's now or never time for Chris Sievert.
Well, he's going to have to do that move again, but he's going to have to do it cleanly and maybe better off down the back straight. He's going to have to time it down into that hard left-hander, get to the inside of Rodriguez. But to your point about Sievert, no racing driver wants to take a position that way. They want to fight for it with honor. They want to get it cleanly, and they want to do it the right way. Nobody ever wants an asterisk that said, yeah, but you dumped the guy to make the pass. Chris Sievert doesn't want that. Rodriguez doesn't want that. They want to have a clean battle, and I think that's what you're going to see here. You're going to see 2 drivers going at it. One last-ditch effort by the ST Racing 39, I believe.
And it does look like Bordeaux could get involved in this conversation as well. That's him in the Bentley right up ahead on the road. Now, is that going to check up Rodriguez coming through turn 12? maybe a little bit of one board down, gets out of the way. I don't think that was going to be too costly there as the Bentley pulls off on the left-hand side of the road and going to let your leaders out and on by. Call the gap about 3-4 car lengths as they fly down the back straightaway. Sievert not going to be close enough to be able to make this work, I think, down into turn 12, but we've seen him be quick here down through this infield section. Is he going to be able to make anything play?
I don't think he is, but I just want to say that was a classy move by the Bentley there. Tried to get out of the way, realized the situation, realized what was happening behind him and then in front of him, and just sort of pulled over just a little bit and did it in a very classy way. I love to see sportsmanship, but as for the battle for first place, it isn't over yet. I still think Sievert might have a lunge, but he might say, you know what, second isn't half bad. That would be enough to get Sievert back into this championship fight, and it would be enough for Rodriguez to have a healthy lead going into round 3.
Yeah, it certainly would. Let's watch here, though, as Igor's going to bring the car down through turn 19. It's about 3 car lengths between him and Sievert here at this point. Is he going to be able to make anything play as they run to the line right now? Igor Rodriguez out into the lead, crosses over the finish line, and that will be victory number 2 on the season for Igor Rodriguez. He had a little bit more competition this time around here, Jesse, but once again, the Williams Esports driver comes out on top. And look at this, the American Nick DeSantis in the number 12, going to come across the line to take victory in the silver class category.
Absolutely pumped as Nick DeSantis, and as he should be, ran a fantastic race. He's going to get credit with the win here today. The Indy Motorsports car, and an excellent job at that. Cody Sherratt for the Genesis car will come through, and so will Zach Doran for Team Shumi Skins in P3 in the silver category. A lot of feel-good stories in those podiums.
Very much so. Here's Jonathan Clifford, that Lamborghini that we followed a little bit earlier. Hamza Goldzar there coming across the line, as is Hayden Harder in 13th, as it looks like Fimbres Casa's got a drive through there right at the end of the race. It's going to plummet them down through the order. As there indeed, we've got more drivers coming across the line. Clifford there in that lone Lamborghini going to come across in 20th position. So a good run there for him. What a day of racing here from Circuit of the Americas, Jesse. That is exactly the kind of thing that we come to expect here when we get ready to go racing at this fantastic circuit in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, I will say, some of you, maybe if this is your first time watching the Mobileye GT World Challenge America Esports Championship, you may be saying, wow, that was a fantastic race. We're doing that every single race here, and that is how we do it here on the Americas continents. And what a fantastic race that was. What sportsmanship that was between P1 and 2, DJ. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, very much so. And by the way, the stewards did have a look at that incident. We are being told that that was deemed a racing incident. And Jesse, I am fully confident that that was probably as a result of Sievert giving that position back. So there you go. There is the official confirmation from that on your screen right there. And once again, great sportsmanship among the drivers here at this point to let that play out. But it is Igor Rodriguez up on the top of the charts once again, and that's going to extend that championship lead for him. As we said a little bit earlier, his closest competition coming into it, Jaid Hutchison falling all the way down through the order. Jaid not having a good day out there, and so may even be finishing out of points-paying positions here at this point, so that is just going to absolutely bring that on out. But we are ready to talk to our winner, Igor Rodriguez. Igor, you had to fight for this one a little bit more there at the end, but 2 races, 2 wins, that's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, no, oh my god. So this race was really tough for me, I cannot lie. Like, oh my god, that Chris Sievert was really fast. And quali, to be honest, I did not expect it that 0.3. That is my PB, my best lap, even from practice. So yeah, I'm really happy with the result.
Well, I want to talk to you a little bit on that penultimate lap. Contact coming down into, I think it was turn 15. It looked like Chris kind of gave that position back to you. Great sportsmanship there among the two of you. What was going through your head at that point when you felt the car starting to turn around a little bit?
Yeah, so I was struggling for a grip on the rear, but it's normal for the Audi, and I don't know if the contact was my fault or not, if I let him room, or if he was like entitled to fight for that corner. But I was happy after the contact. I was still able to keep P1, and that's it. I think that's it.
Well, good stuff, and we head off in about a month's time on July 22nd. We head across the seas to Silverstone. How do you think that's going to fare for you? How do you like that circuit, and do you think this will be another one that the Audi will look pretty good on?
Yeah, so I really like Silverstone, and from what I've been hearing from other drivers, the Audi is looking really fast there. So I just hope it doesn't rain, and I think I can get another win.
Well, fingers crossed for you, my friends, and a great drive here today. Any special thanks or shout-outs you'd like to give before we let you go?
Yeah, big thanks to my team, Williams Esports, and all the sponsors. They helped me a lot.
All right. Well, thank you, Igor. We will let you go celebrate. That was Igor Rodriguez, your victor here today. And Jesse, it always amazes me there just how calm, cool, and collected he is after a race like that. I've talked to him on many, many occasions, and I don't think I've ever seen him be flapped after a race.
No, absolutely not. And you saw it there. His demeanor was the same talking to us as it was in the race. I mentioned that as well. He looks calm, cool, and collected. You would never know that he is leading the America's Championship. He's at the front of the field. He's being chased down by a fast driver, and he's driving the wheels off the car, quite literally, in his own words, the rear tires of that car. And he looked calm and cool. That is one cool driver.
Yeah, it certainly is here at this point. Once again, want to give a massive, massive thank you here to Mobileye, the official presenting partner here of the Mobileye GT World Challenge America Esports Sprint Series. We would not be able to do anything without them. So massive, massive thank you there to them. Also want to give a big shout out to Zynamic, our official photography partner, esports photography partner here in the series, as they present the moment of the race, the picture of the race. There it is. Jesse, these shots here given to us by Zynamic, always absolutely incredible. I've never seen a bad photo here, and I've never seen one that I haven't been a little bit taken aback by.
No, every single year, just fantastic photography work. And this is Circuit of the Americas, if you ask me. This close racing, I think we showed you throughout the race today. It was always less than a car length between several of the cars up fighting at the sharp end of the field. Excellently captured.
Excellently captured indeed. Great stuff there, and massive thank you to everybody who does make this possible and everyone who works behind the scenes as well. I think here in a few moments we are going to be able to talk to our first place driver in the silver category, Nick DeSantis. Nick, you were slicing and dicing your way through there. Looked like you had to be fighting with quite a few of those pro class drivers, but how was it behind the wheel of the car?
Thank you. It was a great race. It was fun. I love COTA. It's such a fun track. You're on the limit the whole race. Yeah, it was a good race. I love the car. Porsche is really nice there, and I'm happy with the result.
I mean, happy with the result indeed, as well you should be. And I've got to ask you here, not the best showing there in race one. I can't remember exactly where you finished there. It looked like you were down at about 10th spot, so able to walk away with a few points. But is this a little bit of a fight back for you here in the championship? Are you starting to put your claim on what could be a championship run?
Yeah, I sure hope so. That's the goal. We'll go to the next round, and I'll put the same amount of practice in and do the best. Do the best I can, and that's all I can do.
Well, you're leading me right into the transition. On July 22nd, we do go to Silverstone. How do you think that's going to be for you as a driver, and how do you think the Porsche is going to respond there?
I think it's going to do really well. It's, a lot of fast corners. The Porsche it just has an amazing amount of downforce. And a little bit of rain would probably be beneficial to me too. So.
All right, a little bit of a contrast there from what we heard from Igor Rodriguez, who is praying for no rain. But we'll have to see which one of you comes through. But, Nick, a fantastic victory here today. Who makes this possible? Who would you like to thank?
Thanks. Shout out to Evolution Racing Academy and also my team, Pit Stop Racing UK.
All right, thank you so much. Nick DeSantis, you were victor here in the silver class category. A great run there from him, Jesse. We didn't give him all that much screen time, unfortunately, but certainly put on a very impressive performance here today to be able to claim that victory, and that should springboard him up near the top of the championship standings.
Yeah, it sure is. And as mentioned earlier on, Silverstone, the 22nd of July. Subscribe and make sure you click that bell. You're not going to miss the next race here in the Mobileye GT World Challenge America Esports Championship. It's been a fantastic race, a fantastic day, close racing everywhere. DJ, take us out.
Indeed, and on behalf of myself, DJ Clark, as well as Jesse Lee, who's joined me up here in the booth, as well as the amazing team, second to none, that we have working behind the scenes, Steve Proudly, Mike Yao, Michael Hamlin, and everybody that makes these possible, thank you so much for joining us here today. And until we see you on the track, thanks for watching.